my very first game came from, and that is for me growing up. I never thought of a period of time that it was like, yes, this is the very first game I played, because when I was growing up, my family, my dad pretty much, had an NES and a Sega Genesis. I don't remember him getting those. Those I think were from either before I was born for the NES or around the time I was born for the Genesis. I might have been born, it might have been around the same time. I'm not 100% sure when he picked up that Genesis. So for me to think back what was the first game that I played, I can't necessarily say that. I grew up around gaming. Now, it wasn't something that was like everything about gaming. Like, I didn't grow up like gaming is the thing, but gaming was always there. When I was young, I remember the NES, I remember playing the Genesis, I remember the Game Boy Pocket, I remember the Nintendo 64. All of these things were there when I was a kid, but it wasn't all at the same time. I don't remember getting all of them, but I do remember mainly my dad being the focus of the video games. We would play video games on Saturday mornings, we would play them at night sometimes. It just kind of depended on the situation, but we still played games. And so for me, I can't pinpoint exactly what my first game that I played was, but I can tell you what my first console was and what my first game that I owned as a kid was. Now, if you didn't notice, if you haven't seen this channel before or whatnot, my very first game console was a Game Boy Pocket. Now, this isn't the exact one. It was blue, and I don't know where it is. I'm hoping it's at my parents' house, but to be frank, I don't know where it is. So the Game Boy Pocket was the thing to go for me. When I had this, it was absolutely amazing. Anytime I had to go anywhere with my parents, this was with me. This was in my pocket, this was in the car, this was being played. Now, if you guys are a little older, you probably understand what it means to play the Game Boy or the Game Boy Pocket when you're on a drive. When it gets late at night, you're sitting there playing and hoping that you can see the screen while all the lights on the street are lighting up the car. Now, this made it difficult to play, but I still absolutely loved this game. Boy, honestly, the Game Boy Pocket was amazing. It wasn't as huge and clunky as the Game Boy DMG or the Game Boy Original as it goes by, but this was one of those things, for me being a kid, having smaller hands, this Game Boy was perfect for me, and I absolutely loved it. I remember getting it, I remember having it and being like, this is mine, this is my Game Boy, and I absolutely loved that about it. And that is one thing that just made me happy when I was a kid, because I had those other consoles around, but there weren't anything that was mine. They were all shared. They were my dad's, my mom's, mine. They were the family's. And so the Game Boy Pocket was the first thing that I got, and I was super duper excited about it. And so that is my first console. If you're wondering why this was my first console, I think it's because of the price point. This thing was pretty dirt cheap. The Game Boy Color was coming quickly right after this, and for me, I just feel like this was kind of the cheap way to go. Now, when I got this, it was probably 96, 97, so the Game Boy was like out, and the Game Boy Color and the Nintendo 64 were around, and so like this wasn't like the end thing to have. It wasn't anything great at that point in time. Don't get me wrong, it's an amazing console and I love it, but as a kid, it wasn't the next newest hottest model, and I didn't care about that because I could take this anywhere and play games on my Game Boy, which is absolutely amazing. And so when I got this, I was very thankful for it, of course. I was very, very excited. Like, it's a console you can play, and that is totally awesome. And on this channel, I've talked about games that I've played or I remember playing prior to this, like obviously Super Mario Bros. Is one that I remember playing. I also remember playing Blades of Steel. Like, those were two games that I played a ton. I have a few vague memories of playing the Genesis, but I don't really know how that came to be about, and I remember it, but I don't remember it. It's kind of hazy, and I was young, so just bear with me there. But I got a Game Boy Color, not a Game Boy Color, I got a Game Boy Pocket like this one right here, and that is where my very first game came from. And that is Super Mario Land. And Super Mario Land, oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how many trips or how many times I just got in the car with my Game Boy to play this game. It didn't matter. This was only the game that was in my Game Boy Color pocket, my Game Boy Color, and this was in there the most, and then Tetris was very short behind that because I did get that later on, but this was the game. This was the very first game that I got, and now the Super Mario Land has a ton. Super Mario has branched a ton since then, but this is still one of those games that when I pick it up, I still love to play it, and it's just amazing. So for me, this is one of my favorite Game Boy games, not only because it's an amazing game, but also because of the nostalgia that is stuck behind it, that goes along with it. Because I remember grabbing this, putting it in my Game Boy, and playing for hours and hours on end, just because I had the game. It was amazing. I loved it. I cannot tell you how many times I've played this. Like, literally going over and over and over and playing it through is just so much fun, and it is totally awesome. So if you haven't played this game, I definitely suggest you do it. But I mean, honestly, it's probably a pretty cheap game. You can get a pretty cheap Game Boy. I'd say go with the Pocket, but I might be biased there. But these things go together very, very well. Now, kind of going on to my history a little bit more, I didn't really have anything else. It wasn't until 2000, very early, I want to say like January or February, I got a Nintendo 64. And I'll save that for another topic, but I had a Game Boy, I had the Sega Genesis and the NES, but those are kind of all that I played as a kid until I was 8, which was when 2000 happened. And so for me, I think that might be why I prefer certain consoles. Like, I didn't play the Super Nintendo too much because we didn't have one. We had the NES, obviously. Then we went to Sega. I had friends that had the SNES, and I played games there. Don't get me wrong, I played a ton of them. But between the Genesis and the Nintendo 64, I didn't get that Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo was way later on. And so for me, I feel like that's why the NES and the Nintendo 64 are game consoles that I talk about a lot on this channel. So I know some of you are like, okay, where's the Super Nintendo content? Come on, where's it at? Eventually you'll get some. I just haven't got there yet. Obviously, you've seen the shelves. I have a ton of games for that. But that's kind of where things started. That is from when I was basically born till about 2000. That was, I played the NES as a kid. I played the Sega Genesis as a kid, and those were both because my dad already had them. And then I got a Game Boy Color, not a Game Boy Color, I keep saying that. It's got to be because it's red, but I got a Game Boy Pocket, and I absolutely adored it, and I loved it to death. So that is kind of how things worked. I want to know kind of your story. Comment down below and let me know how you got started, and we'll see what everyone has started with. I know there's going to be some people that say NES, Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Game Boy, the Pocket, maybe the 64, maybe the GameCube, maybe the Wii. What did you get started with? Comment down below because I want to know. I want to comment down. I'll try to comment on everyone's comment and or reply to it and tell you what maybe my favorite game is or something like that. So if you do that within the first 24 hours of this going live, I will try to do that to kind of interact with you guys a little more. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell notification. That way you know when I post more videos, which is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And one more time, thank you so much for watching, and make sure you have a good day.